Welcome to Digital Connections, the podcast that brings in expert advice to connect you with the services and resources to build and grow a successful business and ultimately to create the life of your dreams. This show is for entrepreneurs, business owners, or anyone interested in running a side hustle to their current 9 to 5. One episode at a time, we help you build a successful business through amazing digital connections. I'm your host, Nancy Johnson, a business owner and digital marketer. On my way here, I have found amazing resources that have helped me grow my business, and they can help your business thrive too. Everyone needs a friend in digital marketing because digital marketing is about connecting people. So, my friends, if you've listened to past episodes of Digital Connections, you may have heard me talk about my adventures in voiceover. At one point, I started a company that was intended to help other writers publish their new books to Audible by recording these in their own home studios. It was a fun jaunt into the world of voiceover, but my love and passion for digital marketing ultimately won out, and I started my own agency with WSI. I still consider the possibilities of starting up a voiceover company down the road as another income stream when I have a little more time. But in the meantime, I've started a podcast to help other business owners and entrepreneurs find amazing resources to grow their businesses. So, because of my dissension into the world of voiceover, I know the power of hiring the right voiceover talent for your business. That person becomes your brand ambassador. I also know that voiceover can be a fitting opportunity for the right entrepreneur. So, with those connections in mind, I have brought my friend and super amazing voiceover talent, Joshua Alexander, in today. And by his own admission, Joshua is super. Here is a guy who takes his business seriously, but doesn't take himself too seriously. He has voiceover experience with roots back to 1993 at a Seattle based marketing company where he sold PSAs to businesses and voiced those spots on the radio. As it turned out, he kind of liked voiceover and he said, "This is pretty cool." And the rest was history. So, Josh is a prolific blogger and author, maintaining the Voice Actor blog, a hilarious and Dave Barry influenced satirical look at life through the eyes of a voiceover talent, and the Super Voiceover Artist book trilogy. So, Joshua, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
Yeah. So I think some of our listeners may not understand exactly what voiceover is and why they should be interested. Can you give me your take on this?
Oh boy. So you should really be interested because it's super, super fun. And it was really weird when you said, by his own admission, I'm super, because I do tend to admit that, but I would never really want to go on record because it seems a little shameless. All part of the brand. I'll explain that. It's all part of the brand. So I explain toujours. So voiceover is anytime you hear a voice, like a car commercial, and there's nobody there. There's no human. You're going, I don't know who's saying this. Then that's a voiceover. On the radio, a voiceover, podcast interviews, or sorry, introductions and things like that. Web videos, e-learning, IVR is a voiceover. You call a company and press 9 for Dave, 10 for accounting, and press 11 if you're about to be sued. Uh, all of those are voiceovers. So there's all different kinds of genres of voiceovers you can enter. It's important because it's a human connection that allows whoever is hosting that voiceover to connect with their audience. And they use a storyteller, someone who can tell their stories with their voice, like me, and then we get to connect them to their audience for them. So that's pretty much it.
Okay, awesome. And well, how did you get your start in voiceover then?
Oh my. So you touched on it a little bit. It's a long time ago, really long time ago. I was working at a company in Bellevue that was selling PSAs. So I was a salesman. I was a lowly telemarketer. And anytime anybody asks me, how did you get started in voiceovers? I have to kind of, humbly bow my head and ask for forgiveness from the stars that I actually engaged in the sin that is known as telemarketing. I would call people during dinner and I would say, this is Josh Alexander on behalf of KPLZ or KUBE or, whatever the stations were around here. KBSG, I think, was 97.3, the oldies. That was my favorite.
Oh, okay. All right.
And yeah, sadly, it's been taken over by talk radio. So moment of silence. There we go.
Hey,
And
now there is nothing wrong with talk radio, for
there's,
goodness sake.
see, that's what you're doing. Yeah, there's nothing wrong. But when you displace oldies and there's no longer a really good oldies station, I think that's a crime. But that's another
All
podcast.
right, all right.
Yeah, I'm gonna start my own podcast. Displaced former oldies stations. Um, yeah, so I actually would call. I was just the salesperson, lowly telemarketer at a desk, and calling Jack. Hey, Josh Alexander here on behalf of KPLZ. How you doing? And instantly they thought they were on the air. Would I win? And and then when they find out they haven't won anything, then they hang up on you and par for the course. But you get to sell PSAs, and they were really good PSAs. They're all causes
Mm,
that we believe in, employing a kid code to prevent abduction,
mm-hmm,
talking to your teens about the dangers of drinking and driving, all kinds of real sound advice, good sound advice brought to you by blah, blah, blah. That
mm-hmm.
was the tag that we put on the end. And then I would sell them. Well, on a few occasions, the buyers would say, oh, well, we like it. We'll buy, but only if you can read it. And, here I am, this lowly telemarketer at my desk going, oh, oh, okay. Um, he wants me to read. He'll buy if I can read. Can I read this? And shouting around for a manager. And so yeah, they bought. The managers, apparently this happened a lot, where they liked the telemarketer and they said they want the
Mm-hmm.
telemarketer to read. So I went to the studio. I remember the very first time, slapped the cans on, heard my own voice coming through, loud and clear
Oh.
and rich and beautiful and super. And I read this copy and I was like, I really like this, like a lot, like a really lot.
Mm.
And kind of the rest really was history. I just started getting into voiceovers and jingles and singing. And then I fused singing and jingles and it became singles. And I did a whole bunch of entertainment based stuff. Really kind of gravitated away for a long time, went wayward, lost sheep, was singing and performing that way. And then finally came back
Oh,
around to more stuff.
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now mine was my dad made us listen to audiobooks, on cassette, back in the day in the car. And in fact, I think they were even on, what was those 8-track,
Oh yeah.
things, right?
Yep.
And so we listened to The Shadow and, all those great, oldie radio shows, right? And that was my introduction. And so my sister and I would always pretend we were voiceover talents growing up. It was great, so.
That is great. It's a lot of fun. It really is a lot
It
of fun.
is. It is. Yeah, absolutely.
The work
So
and
what
the
do you,
pains.
well, what's that?
Oh, I just gonna say it took pains to get there, to actually get to the point of being
Mm.
allowed to record, because every single one we used cassette decks as well, and we'd have to rewind the tape bed that we would play piped
Remember
into the
that.
phone, and we would read the copy over the tape bed of the
Uh-huh.
cheesy canned background score track, and we would play it, and then when we were done, we'd pull some Dan Rather line like, Jack, I never said it was Dan Rather. Hello, because they'd hang up, by that time. So that's what happens to telemarketers. But anyway.
Well, so what do you like best about doing voiceovers then? Is there something in this career line that you've chosen that's been kind of surprising to you?
Yeah. So I'm going to shift gears from funny haha to just, deep and serious. I absolutely love what I do. I'm so in love with what I do. And it's just, you wake up every morning. I just wake up laughing some days. I am leg shakingly excited the night before, like Sunday night, because the work week is about to start. Who am I kidding? It never really ends. But I can't wait to get in here. This is my ship. I'm the commander. And I get to reach out. I get to connect with clients. I get to do auditions to the tune of 200 to 250 of them every week.
Wow.
Send out auditions, get cast, be chosen. People choose me. I mean, it's like, what are you thinking? But they choose me to tell their story all over the country, all over the world, all over their phone system, all over their e-learning. It's just such a rich privilege to be chosen as a storyteller. I love that it's mine. I love that it's my pursuit, and I live or fall on my own merits. Rise or fall, live or die. I guess whatever was that phrase was. Edit that. Just go ahead and edit. You say things now. I'm done.
Yeah. We don't edit, Joshua. This is yeah, I know, right?
Line. Like, no, I
Well, so
just
what what's been surprising to you about it then? Is there something that's kind of been a little shocking about doing this as a career?
yeah, I would just say it's incredibly lucrative, and I had no idea how lucrative it was.
Mm,
I really
mhm.
didn't. I thought, and I was doing multimedia for a long time. Started a multimedia company in 2003, and it was a lot of different V's: voiceovers, video transfer, video production, videography, vivisection. No, I'm kidding. I didn't do that last one. But everything that started with V that was media related, we pretty much did.
Mm,
Um, and so I did voiceovers as a byproduct or as an add-on to corporate video. So a client needed I produced and filmed and produced a corporate video for them. They said, "That's great. That's a wrap. Now all we need is the voiceover." I'd go, "Oh, I can do that." And they would add me, hopefully, cross my fingers, to do the voiceovers. I just never thought of doing it as a service unto itself until the fall of
mm.
2016. So I ventured forth in complete boldness, and I jumped out there and said, "This is what I want to do. I remember this. I'm good at this." And so I began to slowly subtract every other line of V work that I was doing, stripped it all away. Thank God there's no more wedding videography. Hallelujah. Um, that's what you do when you are absolute living in complete desperation, and you have no will to live any further, is you resort to wedding videography.
No,
So
some people.
for those wedding videographer entrepreneurs joining us, you are worthy, you are loved, you are valued. Yeah,
That's
I had
right.
to
That's
ditch it.
right.
I'm so glad I ditched it. But I was
Mm,
very surprised at how lucrative it truly is. It's amazingly lucrative.
mm, mm. Well, let's talk a little bit about voiceover for businesses. How does someone go about picking the right voice for their product or service?
Yeah, there's a lot of ways they can go about it. Repeat clients obviously have a voiceover who they've already chosen. They can
Hmm.
choose internally someone who speaks well and is connective and knows how to talk to the other three-dimensional human beings out there, or they can cast a net. And so they cast a net through agents. They go through an agency that has access to voice talent, or actors who happen to have a voiceover branch in their agency. They'll do that. They'll go through what's called the pay to plays. That's actually becoming just more and more common. The voiceover marketplaces online, sites like voices.com, voice123, voiceovers, VO Planet, Bidalgo, and the newest is Cast Voices.
And those are places that they can go out and they can actually find them themselves, right? They don't have to go through an agent necessarily. It's
Correct.
just you've got a bunch of voices that you're listening to.
Yeah, they'll basically post an audition notice or a casting notice, I guess is a better term. And so these people, the voice talent, are already registered on this site. They're already actively auditioning. Here comes a new, casting notice from a Joe Plumbing guy, and has a script, for you to read. So you get those scripts as a voice talent on our side. You get those depending on your match. So if you're a 12-year-old Caribbean girl and he's looking for a 40-year-old British, cigar, chain smoking Don LaFontaine with a British accent, you probably aren't going to get that casting notice.
Mhm.
Uh, but they'll look there as well and be matched up with people who have corresponding profile tags, for example.
Oh, okay. So when the business owner goes out there, it's not like a completely blind search where they just have to start listening to voices and make a guess.
Yeah, that's true. They'll ultimately be fielding a whole bunch of auditions from people
Hmm.
because, and it's that attribute is really up to them too. They can specify, I only want 5 voices, I only want 50, I only want 100,
Hmm.
and so they will actually be they'll be the ones who will pick the quantity of auditions that they desire to review.
Hmm.
On our end, it behooves us to get our auditions in quick before they develop what's called like audition fatigue. They're
Hmm.
going, I
Hmm.
can't listen to another one, just pick one. And
Yes.
they just, they say they'll take 100, but they're by 34, they're burnt out and ready to slit their wrists. So
Hmm.
they just say pick one right away. So you want to get your audition in quick. So
Hmm.
agents, pay to plays, referral, and direct marketing. I'm really big on direct marketing. So if these guys have done any kind of media before, or they're actively doing media right now, then you want to get on their voiceover roster.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
these are people that
Ah.
they have in their back pocket.
Uh-huh. And as a business owner, is there something in particular that I'm listening for in a voice as I'm picking them for my business? Is it
Sure.
just kind of whatever is I listen to it and I go, "Ooh, I really like that one." Is there something that somebody should be listening for that they may not know to listen for, I guess is the question.
I think ultimately, what everyone is looking for, and we see it time and time again in casting notices, is conversational, real, natural,
Mm-hmm.
not
Mm-hmm.
an announcer, guy next door. That's the voice that connects most with people. Is a voice
Mm-hmm.
that is. You have to read and sound like you're not reading. Number one. So
Mm-hmm.
if you're reedy, then you're just not going to get cast. Now is the time for all good men to come to the aid of their country. Is not how you get cast. It's more like, now's the time for all good men to come to the aid of their country. It's normally how you and I would talk every single day to each other.
Mm-hmm.
If you can
Mm-hmm.
talk like that, if you can read like that and sound like that, then you'll get cast. So real, genuine, conversational, but someone who they really feel will resonate with their demographics. And every business is different, for that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
they
Yeah.
get choosing and veto power on who they want to sign up to be their storyteller.
Yeah. Hey, so do you ever get interviews where people are like, "Hey, we want somebody that sounds like a radio announcer."
Do I get casting notices for that?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there are people who specifically they want sound-alikes. They want a Don LaFontaine or a Tom Skerritt
Uh-huh.
or Sean Connery or James Earl Jones. Um, and so the
Nice.
sound-alikes are part of them. But yeah, sometimes they want a Don LaFontaine in a world where Nancy Johnson reigns supreme. They want that um,
Hmm.
Don LaFontaine, or they want like '80s Ford truck announcer guy. Come on down to
Mm,
Bob's Ford. Really big and bombastic. And
yeah.
so you shift gears and kind of roll with the punches and see what each casting notice says, and then adjust accordingly. You can decline it too if it's not in your wheelhouse, or you think these people are nuts, or they're advertising something that you just don't really want to support.
Mm,
You're a
hmm.
Republican and it's a Democratic ad, or it's a Democrat and you're a Republican. I think I said the same thing. Swap those in the edit. In the edit that you're not doing, swap those. Um,
You got it. You got it. We'll take care of it.
yeah, thank you.
So, but okay, so along those same lines, then why does a company pick you
Sure.
typically?
Well, I have a very natural, unforced guy next door type of voice. It's really in demand.
Hmm. Hmm.
What I really saw was amazing last year is, in the pandemic, people really needed a trusted storyteller.
Mm,
They needed a voice that would connect with people and that was human, that was real. And so, how many times did you hear "We're all in this together," or "In these uncertain times," or unprecedented times? Sorry. Um, you just hear it over and over again, accompanied by plunky piano music,
yeah.
and it's like, oh, okay, we're all in this together again. I get it. And, oh, these times are unprecedented. Really, I had no idea. Uh, every single commercial was like that, but
Hmm.
they wanted that voice that was very paternal and very
Mm,
reassuring, arm around you kind of voice.
hmm.
So we are all in this together. It's soft, it's whispery, it's a little gravelly, it's welcoming, alluring, draw you in. So that's one facet. That's what I call my money voice. I use that a
Hmm.
lot.
Hmm.
Um, I use it anytime I want something from my wife. That's the voice that I'll use. And I get an eye roll, pretty much. Eye roll and a shoulder shrug, and
I'm
a
sure.
you're a geek, whatever. Um, but yeah, the flip side of that coin is I do a lot of just really natural speaking, natural tone of voice, just like you and I are talking right now is how I want to
Hmm.
read a script.
Yeah, it takes a lot of practice to be authentic.
Yeah, isn't that weird? That's the truth. Yeah, you should be like authentic because you're authentic, but no, it takes practice to be authentic. It's so weird.
It
Just
is
hire an
so
AI voice.
strange.
Just forget about us.
uh, and I know that how does somebody ensure? So, I mean, if people are going to these paid search sites, or they're going through an agent, they're going to be guaranteed that they're getting a legitimate voiceover talent, right? I mean, they're not going to get taken for a ride necessarily if they're out there doing it the right way, right?
There are some sites that thoroughly vet their talent. There are some
Mm,
that don't let everybody in. There are other sites that really let everyone in.
mm,
Voices.com is a site that boasts, I think they're probably higher now. They boast maybe 600,000 voice talent. I say in air
mm-hmm.
quotes because, with the advent of there's this new thing out. I don't know if you heard about it, but it's called the internet. Um, and so with the internet, home studios are everywhere. They're on every street corner, and everyone with people actually they record and submit auditions in the voice memo app on their phone. They'll speak into their phone in the voice
Wow.
memo app, and they'll send that, and they'll expect that to be, studio quality. And it's not, it's really not. Um, they don't understand that producers can, they hear the difference and they can
Mm,
tell them anyway. So some sites vet, other sites don't. But I
mm-hmm.
think in large part, if you're brand new to the world of voiceovers and particularly casting voiceovers, you start to develop a real sense of what is good and what is not, what qualifies as professional and what does not.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so the professionals who deal with professional voice talent and unprofessional can tell they can tell them from each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Mm-hmm.
mom and pop businesses coming there, they need a little bit of kind of screening and going, that doesn't quite
Yeah.
sound right. And he's got good quality, but he can't read to save his life.
Mm-hmm.
He can read to save, she can read to save her life, but what's all that noise in the background? And
Mm-hmm.
he kind of know
Yeah.
ahead of time.
Mm.
That's how
Well, so along those lines, then, is there anything that you would change about the voiceover industry?
Yes, I would change vetting. The people
Hmm.
should be vetted, before they get in. I would make it a requirement, honestly, that people understand what market rates really are in voiceovers, because you have real corrosive sites out there like Fiverr, Voice Jungle, Planet Charlie,
Mm.
Speedy Spots. The Voice Jungle. Don't know if maybe I said that one already. Strike that. These sites that are so corrosive to the industry because they just drive down rates, and they're part of this gig economy where you can get you get voiceovers on the cheap, and they
Hmm.
don't understand that there are market rates that determine if you want, say, a, a national TV commercial for a year in the
Hmm.
States, which is also dumb and redundant because I already said national. But if you want a national TV commercial for a year, that's going to cost you several $1,000s, not $200. um, they're completely different. And a lot of newbies who enter the field of voiceovers don't understand that they are entitled, just like the rest of us, to market rates. It's
Mm.
not their tenure in voiceovers doesn't determine what they should make. The market determines what that service is valued at.
Hmm.
So a lot of people feel inferior, like they can't, charge those rates. I would change that. I would change the people who are teaching and speaking in kind of the upper echelons of voiceovers. There's a lot of the same people you just see over and over and over again. Meaning,
Hmm.
no disrespect, many of them belong up there, but there
Hmm.
are others who want to join that, and I'm in that demographic where I
Hmm.
love teaching, and I've had a few select opportunities to speak with some exposure. I love to teach about voiceovers. I love to share what it's done for my life. And I don't know a lot of the people who have that same level of passion and articulation. And, they're chosen again and again and again. So I would love to see kind of a cycling, same thing that you'd
Mm.
love to see in politics. Like, let's clean house every once in a while. Um, and
Sure.
yeah, so maybe I would change those.
Hmm. Hmm. Well, so here's an interesting one for you. So the whole automation thing, right? And with automated voices coming out, do you think this is do you think that's kind of a threat for people that are looking to go into a voiceover career? And then also, what do you see are there threats that you see to your career as a voiceover?
I think the biggest threat to the voiceover industry is people who are part of the pay scale erosion.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
People who just don't understand their worth, and you see it all the time on Fiverr. Will read 1,000 words for $20. You
Yeah.
know,
Mm-hmm.
$20 is 4 coffees. I get it. That's great. However, you're setting a really unfortunate and very detrimental precedent in the minds of buyers that voiceover should cost that little. And we all have houses to pay for. We all have,
Mm-hmm.
well, I don't have houses. I have just one little bitty house. Um, J. Michael Collins may have, multiple houses. I just have one. We have vehicles, we have mortgages to pay for, whatever. So there are market rates that are established. That's the biggest detractor, or the biggest danger for the industry, I should say, is the rate
Mm-hmm.
erosion. Secondly, with AI voices, artificial intelligence, yes, it's gaining steam. I'm going to mute her so she doesn't turn on when I say her, but Alexa is, yes, I win. Josh won, Alexa 0. Um, when you listen to Alexa's voice, Siri, Bixby, Google Voice, they're getting creepily more accurate and
Mm.
creepily more real. I mean, Alexa is astoundingly real.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So that part is amazing to watch that technology evolve. But then you have sites like Speechalo and Vocal ID that are part of the synthesis of voice actors. And I mean, there's a giant lawsuit right now against TikTok by a beloved colleague and friend of mine, who she provided her voice as a TTS, a text to speech service, to one company, who ended up transferring all of those files to TikTok. Don't know how. And now TikTok, her voice is being used in TikTok without her knowledge, without her consent. I mean, wildly, like, raucous and X-rated phrases. You can make it say anything using Bev's voice. So
Wow.
giant lawsuit right now, and we really, fingers crossed, we hope that wins. We hope Bev wins.
Yeah.
But
Oh my goodness.
AI voices, they're a big threat, but they will never, at least in most of our minds, they will never be able to match human nuance,
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
the idiosyncrasies they're not directable.
Yeah.
You can't say,
Mm-hmm.
"Hey, robot voice, give it to me in a slight, seductive whisper." Now I'm whispering. Whatever. They don't have gauge. You can't gauge and on a sliding scale of a whisper. They can't emotionalize it. So it'll take a really long time for them to reach the level of believability that a human being has.
Yeah.
It is a
And
threat nonetheless.
they don't ad lib very well either. So
No. Can you give me a few alts, a few wild lines on this read?
right.
And please define alts. Please define wild lines. Yeah.
So, you and I were talking a little bit about that you love teaching. And in fact, I've taken one of your classes on voiceover, which I enjoyed very, very much. But what I noticed from that class is you're not just teaching tactics for producing great voiceover. I came away with so much more. And in fact, I came away with a lot that helped me just in my business life, actually, and in running my business, right? So give me some clarification here. Are you a coach? Do you offer supplemental voice instruction? What's the deal?
Yeah. So no, I'm not a coach. I actually just don't have time for coaching. There are people who are excellent coaches, and by coach, what we're primarily talking about is technique, learning how to do this thing called voiceovers artistically. And I mean, you and we're all in the state of Washington. There's a fantastic coach that I will recommend to everybody 7 days of the week and twice on Sunday. His name is Scott Burns, and
Mm.
he's been doing it forever. He's the first North American voice of Bowser in Super Mario Brothers.
Nice.
We have a joke around our home that if I left my wife for anybody, I'd leave her for Scott Burns. He's just an amazing mammal. The guy
Mm.
is a walking exclamation mark. He's super generous with his time and his resources and energy. I'll never forget the very first time I sent him an email that was this big, and I think this is audio podcast, so right, so we're not doing video.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
so
right.
really little, tiny, brief email, and it was just this mammoth reply that was not a mail merge and was not "Hi, name. Looks like you're interested in voiceovers. Name." It was all direct answers to my questions. and super generous. He's such a good guy.
Wow.
Scott,
Mm-hmm.
Scott is the coach I'll refer everybody to.
Mm.
What I like to think of myself as is a cheerleader with the pom poms without the spandex.
Wow.
Yeah, I think people appreciate that image, and
I
I
appreciate that you weren't wearing spandex.
well, I mean, you and I are seeing video, and I mean, I don't have the lower half of my. No, I'm kidding. Um, I think I've done coaching. I have coached a few people, but I feel like my passion is more on the business side of things, and that's not really
Mm-hmm.
taught in a lot of coaching. I would rather have the coaches who have, you know, 100 different techniques, and they call them by names, different names. You know, here's the bejesus technique. You know, whatever they call it, and and they do their thing. And then what I do is I'm really big and pro on turning this into a business. Voiceovers is the
Mm.
worst possible hobby you could ever have.
Yeah.
It is not. It's so lucrative. It's so enjoyable. You can't relegate this to the realm of hobby. You're
No.
doing
No.
yourself a huge disservice.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I
Without a
encourage,
doubt.
I
Yeah.
encourage people to treat it like a business and turn it into a business.
Mm-hmm. Well, I will highly suggest your courses if anybody is interested in doing this as a business. I think it's a great starting point. But what would you suggest if someone is interested in going into voiceover? Where do you suggest that they start?
That's a great question. So I actually started a supplemental site called How Do I Get Started in Voiceovers.com. It's very long. I think I win an award of some kind for lengthy URLs. But How Do I Get Started in Voiceovers.com is a site that really is meant to introduce you, as many other sites are that are out there, to starting in voiceovers.
Mhm.
Recommended coaches, recommended hardware, software, approaches, marketing, networking, all the different things that you should really think about if you want to take your foray into voiceovers. And certainly don't treat it like a hobby. That's on there as well. But
Mm,
How Do I Get Started in Voiceovers.com is a pretty comprehensive site with multiple sections to help you learn what you need to do this successfully. And there are other sites that are better than mine, far better than mine. D. Bradley Baker has a site called I want to be a voice actor.com, and
mhm,
it's
mhm,
loaded with resources. So I just tried to do my own thing. It's comparable to his site with a lot of the same starting info, but
mhm.
boy, that's where you'd go with your mentality, though. Can I share this? I want to share my mantra. If you want to be successful, there's a mantra that's on my wall right behind me, and you can't see that because, again, this is audio. It's from a movie I like to pretend does not exist, Star Wars: The Phantom Menace. Okay. Qui-Gon
We all
Jinn,
like to pretend that one doesn't exist.
yeah, and the second one too is even worse. But Qui-Gon Jinn says to, don't ask me, how I remember that name, says to a young Anakin Skywalker, "Your focus determines your reality."
Hmm.
That is my business mantra. Your focus determines your reality. My focus determines and is determining and has determined my reality. My focus is eat, sleep, breathe, drink voiceovers. You have to go in hook, line, and sinker. You can't dip your toe in the water. So
Yeah.
before you start going out, I mean, figure out, is this really the thing for you? I knew that it was. Uh,
Hmm.
Before you start buying up all this equipment and whatever, figure out, is this really what you want to do?
Yeah.
Know that, and then make
Hmm.
it your focus, because that'll determine your reality.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and it takes time, and you do need to have that commitment going into it and knowing that it's going to take you some time. But it's worth it. It is totally worth it. So do you have a favorite voiceover project that you have done that you could tell us about?
Yeah, so I actually just finally got my first paid David Attenborough narration. Uh,
Whoa.
yeah, it was really like, oh, I want this so bad. You could feel it in your teeth. I've had other projects. There was one that I did early on. It was narrating. It was a 6.5 hour resulting production of the complete sayings of Jesus, like everything he said, everything people said to him, and it was amazing. And I did an
Oh.
ensemble of all these different characters. It was scored beautifully.
Oh my
um,
gosh.
sound effects, and I got to just do all these crazy, not crazy, well, yeah, crazy voices, and not for Jesus because he's not crazy, but all of these, like a variety ensemble of voices. That was cool. Then I
Hmm.
got a project that was for Discover Long Island, where I encouraged tourism to Long Island. This is obviously pre-pandemic, and it just turned out so good. You rarely see the visuals when you're recording the voiceover. You're just getting a script to read and words, and you have to imagine. But then when they go, oh, by the way, here's the finished video, thought you might like to see this, and golly, you see and hear yourself paired with these beautiful, stunning visuals, and you want to melt. It's so cool. Such a rich privilege. But the latest one, those are my three. The latest one was the David Attenborough one, and it was just so cool.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, okay, so I know also that you have a favorite blog, and the reason I know is because it's one of my favorite blogs, actually. But so tell me a little bit about your blog.
My favorite blog, you mean? So, well, it's
Yeah,
mine, so
tell me about your favorite blog, please.
naturally it would be my favorite.
Oh,
Um,
I wish we could edit.
don't edit this part. Don't take out the blog. So I love blogging. The only thing I love about as much as doing voiceovers themselves is blogging about voiceovers.
Mm.
I never really tapped into my blogger spirit. There's a little blogger in me. They say, and doctors say if they remove it, he'll die. But I love Dave Barry. When I was a kid, Saturday mornings or whatever it was, we'd all be kind of doing our thing in the house, and all of a sudden, Mom would just cackle with laughter from some recess, somewhere in the house, and we're like, "What is it?" Oh, she must be reading Dave Barry. Um, I got to familiarize myself with Dave Barry's work early on, and I just love that dry wit. Stephen Wright is the same. Dimitri Martin is the same.
Hmm.
Mitch Hedberg. I love that kind of humor.
Yeah.
Brian Regan has a little bit of that. But my blog is very dry wit. It really resonates with Brits. So if we have any Brits listening right now, uh, apparently you'll get that because they say we understand that you Americans are a little softer, whatever they say. But I love writing every week. It's usually just a story from my life, an observation from my life as a voiceover artist, and with an applicable lesson at the end.
Mm.
The tie it all together, session at the end. And but boy, I just love the creative process that goes into blogging and writing something that's going to be amusing, that will carry you through, give you some laughter. The industry of voiceovers can be punishing for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
You're faced with a lot of rejection
Oh,
in
yeah.
in
Hmm.
marketing and in auditioning. You get one job every 20, 50, 100 auditions that you do, maybe, you know? So everybody's ratio is different, but a lot of people, they get in and they get out because it's kind of brutal. They don't survive very long. This
Hmm.
blog is meant to carry you, to provide you some inspiration, and to tell you it's all going to be okay. Laugh a little bit in this
Hmm.
industry where you're faced with so much rejection. Laugh, have fun, and every week I strive to write something that's entertaining, illuminating, and it's edutainment is what it's called.
Yeah, and most every blog post that you've written is pretty funny. But I will say that you're also very good at taking up a cause every once in a while. When you feel that there needs to be something said, you're pretty good at turning on the serious every once in a while too. So
You're not referencing this past week's blog, are you? I don't think there was
Maybe.
any humor in that. I think I said poppycock hootenanny in that one, and one person said they loved that. It was like the glimmer of light through the
Oh,
gray clouds in that blog, because it was a serious topic. It was about
it
it
was.
was about lowballers and people who are undercutting other people in the industry, in the
Hmm.
voiceover industry, by
Yeah.
being sellout, saying,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah, I'll do it for $20, when you really should be paid 5,000, you know,
Yeah.
toe the line,
Hmm.
people. Urgh.
Hmm. I read a great quote on was on LinkedIn this morning, and the gal was saying, I get asked to speak for free often. And then she wrote, if you're sharing something of value, you should be paid. And that was the whole point is, stop lowballing yourself and stop lowballing everybody else, because in essence, people begin to think that they shouldn't have to pay for the value that people are providing.
Right.
So I think there's a lot to that. So now we briefly mentioned your books as well. So tell me about what is going on there. Tell me about these fantastically super books that you've got.
They are super by my own admission. Um, so I,
Sorry.
so, so I never really intended to write a book. I intended to blog.
Mhm.
Um, but ultimately the blogs necessitated a book, like a collection, like Josh's best of. And so it was like a collection of, really impactful blogs. I mean, honestly, there's a blog that I wrote called When My Voice Meant Nothing. And it turned into a chapter in the book. And it was ultimately about um, my wife giving birth to our second son, and how here I was trying, and she was induced. So it's a, don't ever do it. If you like, hey, let's put induced on my bucket list, don't do that. It is not something you want to do, because the what do they call it, the exponential curve of pain and suffering that happens towards the end. Like she could not take a what do you call it, where they,
An
an
epidural.
epidural. Yeah,
Yeah.
she couldn't. It just happened too fast, so she couldn't have the epidural. She was screaming, and
Oh.
it was horrible. And I tried to console her and encourage her, and whatever, and she just could not hear me. My voice meant nothing. It was a really emotional book.
Oh, wow. Wow.
But so the book is balanced in terms of real emotional stuff. Um, I'm very, very, very passionate about voiceovers. So with that passion comes, let me share with you my personal journey. Let me share with you my beliefs. Let me share with you my experiences, and let me share with you a lot of satire and entertainment and fun, because it's all of these things wrapped in one. So that became the first book, and then it was like,
Mhm.
well, I have to write a trilogy now. That's just what you do.
Well, of
Uh,
course.
Actually, I don't do a lot of audiobooks. God bless the audiobook narrators, because you guys are the chosen. They require so much endurance to
Yes.
record and produce audiobooks.
Mhm.
God bless you, not for me. Um, I have a client though who I have done a few audiobooks. He's the only one, and he's a very personal motivation type of author, like
Mm.
Tony Randall, I think is his name.
Tony Robbins.
Tony Robbins. Tony Randall's an actor. Scratch that.
Yeah.
Edit that one too. Tony Roberts. Um, yeah, or Anthony, whatever his name is. The personal speakers out there, that's kind of what Thibaut Melis is. That's my French author client. And I've
Mhm.
narrated several of his books, and he suggests keep writing books, keep putting them out there. So
Mhm.
to obey Thibaut, uh, I produced my first book, and then the second, which was a follow-up to that, the sequel. So then there's a trilogy coming this fall, the last one. And then I published an independent book, most recently, called Running a Successful Voiceover Business. And they're doing well.
Nice. Nice. Well, they should be considering I purchased them as well. So, yeah.
Yay. Good for you. You have done wisely.
All right. So, well, we're just about out of time, but thank you so much for sharing all of your information with my listeners. I
You're welcome.
appreciate you stopping by. I know it was a long drive, but do you have any final thoughts that you'd like to leave people with? I don't know if I should ask that or not, but
Um, Final thoughts. So I would just go back to a wrap up, honestly, and that
Mhm.
is your focus. I know it's silly. I know it's like it's some might call it, oh, that's just a bumper sticker, and it comes from a Star Wars movie, and I happen to like the Phantom Menace. Okay, but your focus does determine your reality. If I could
Mm.
apply that towards my own weight loss, I'd be like, oh, I just can't seem to do that. But I've been able to lock and load on voiceovers in that particular approach, is because your focus does determine your reality. If you focus on this enough and put things in place, track your goals, believe in what you're doing, continue to push and push and push towards accomplishing what you want in voiceovers, then that focus does determine your reality. Such a profound phrase, such a profound mantra that I've just put over my whole pursuit. So if you want to get into voiceovers, I would say, as counsel to anyone, do not skip coaching. You have to get
Mm,
coaching to understand how you do this thing. You have to get
mhm,
coaching to understand kind of an insight in the industry. Coaches know you, they can then produce your demo for you,
mm,
get a quality demo made. But visit uh, how do I get started in voiceovers.com,
mhm.
a good website, resource to help you get started. And then you can visit me at Say Something Josh or seattlevoiceactor.com and read my blogs to your heart's content, uh,
Excellent,
buy
excellent.
things, leave comments. Yeah,
I will say though that I do think that piece of advice of your focus determines your reality. I think that is so important for entrepreneurs in general. As I know as an entrepreneur myself, I get shiny object syndrome. Where I'm just kind of like, oh, that looks fun. Yes, I can do that. I can do that.
right.
And realistically, I think that for entrepreneurs, it is all about focus, and the more that you can maintain that focus, the more successful you end up being. So I think it's a great piece of advice, so thank you for that. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. I want to say, I thought I was going to be shooting weddings until I died, until Jesus
Mm,
returned. I was doing weddings every single Saturday and sometimes Saturday and Sunday for several years. And I thought that's what I was trapped into. And I just never thought I'd be able to do something that would supplant that. The day I drove away from my very last wedding was November 23rd, actually, 2019. It was the very last one we ever shot. And I drove away, and it was like I didn't cry. It wasn't like, thank you, Lord, for 4 great years. It was none of that. I got a contract approval from a voiceover client like a few minutes after I pulled out of the lot. And it was just such a sign that the old has gone, the new has come. But I did that. I say that because I had to strip away everything else that I was doing, all
mm,
the other videography and video transfer and video production. I intentionally stripped all of that away so that I could lock and load on voiceovers. So
mhm.
don't spread yourself too thin and be good at a lot of things. Be great at a few or one thing.
Yes, yes, completely. Well, all right. On that note, before we take off today, I want to leave our listeners with our digital marketing tip of the day. So, who is your competition? What are they doing online that you are not doing? Search them out, follow their blogs, like them on social media, check out their websites. To do great marketing, you must know your competition, and you must keep up with the tactics that appear to be successful for them. If you're looking for a deeper analysis, give me a call. You can find me at nancyj.com. A huge thank you to my guest today, Joshua Alexander, Seattle voice actor. You can find Joshua at seattlevoiceactor.com. Please make sure to follow us, subscribe, and like us wherever you get podcasts. You can find this episode and previous shows along with our contact information and contact information for all of my guests on our website at digitalconnections.us. Have a great week and tune in next week for another fantastic digital connection.